All right, here's another scene. We're just going to show that once again, he's wearing the green. This time he's wearing the green and the orange. This is after he's gained some level of status with the king, King Leo. So now he's a little bit more enlightened. He has a little bit more understanding. He has a little bit more power in his system. He's wearing the orange and green now.
I have my royal tailor whip this up.
Now it's funny that he used the color purple for this, because the color purple was for noblemen back then. I mean, you could wear it if you wasn't, but more than likely, if you wore that color, you were somebody of a noble descendant.
Royalty.
Yeah. Here he goes again. After he went through some trials and tribulation, he's wearing the green again. Now, why is it throughout the entire movie his character wore green every scene?
Some people just say, well, that's the color they chose for his costume to be. But three-dimensionally, they would say they're telling you
something about him.
People were back then.
All right, so this is the last battle of the movie. In this scene, he charges into the castle dressed up as the Black Knight. Just like that, it's over. So if you watch the movie, you know he goes on and finishes the battle. He wins. He teleports back to his time, his dimension. He space travels, and he meets the girl in the future, and they get together. Now I'm going to go and explain what I've been talking about this whole time, which is the purpose of them putting him in green constantly. Okay. Now this book is called The Ancient and Modern Britons. This is volume 1. There's 2 volumes to this. The guy who wrote this name is David McRitchie. So you could tell where he's from, right? He's definitely from the Ireland. He's out of the UK. This book was released in the 1800s. But he's going to give a description of what he considered the indigenous people of the land. He describes the Gypsies, the Picts, the Germans. He talks about the Vikings, the Normans, and he describes all these people as the same people as I've been saying. But he's going to describe in this entire section that I'm about to read, he's trying to decipher, how do these people look? He says, did these people look like the people that's there now, or did they look a different way? So here he goes.
The Iberians are styled swarthy and curly-haired. The word swarthy is rather elastic, for although literally Schwartz, yet it is taken, I fancy, to mean something not quite so dark as the color of a Negro, in its usual acceptation.
Now I'm going to say this right here. This book is not necessarily the end-all be-all factual. This book simply gives you as a compass to show how they were thinking back then. Once again, this book was released in the 1800s. This is just how I'm using this to show they were having these questions as late as then. He had access to information and stuff, because that's probably the last century where they were telling some level of truth about real history.
Don't tell it now.
Exactly. So when he says that maybe they're not quite so dark as the color of a Negro, this whole book is him asking questions. He has certain information. He's putting his information together, and he's like, this is just him thinking out loud sometimes. Sometimes it's him telling the actual information, the facts, and then he'll interpret it a certain way. So just keep that in mind.
Perhaps this distinction does not exist, but, at any rate, if the small dark Highlander and the black Celt to the west of the Shannon be assumed to be the descendants of Iberians, it may fairly be argued that, with so much intermixture with fairer races during the last 2,000 years, the stock must now be lighter skinned than then, and its representatives of the first century must have been actually as black as Negroes. As a matter of fact, Pliny characterizes their complexion as Sethiopium, that is, as black as an Ethiopian, and it may be that the curliness of their hair was of the same nature as a Negro's also. Thus the Negritos of Huxley, the owners of such skulls as those found in Caithness, may have been allied to the ancient Iberians. That the wild tribes of Ireland were black men is hinted by the fact that a wild Irishman is in Gaelic a black Irishman, dubbed Héireanach.
You see that? In their country, the word black means green, the word green means black.
Yeah.
And blue means
And blue.
And blue means black. I'm gonna show you later that was proven. As a matter of fact, I can go ahead and show you now.
There you go.
Look at this. The Irish, for Black Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter.
So the ironic part about it, the Most High has a great sense of humor. The cops here was saying blue lives matter because they're in blue uniforms, but they didn't understand. You can also reference blue to still Black Lives Matter.
So when the Black Lives Matter protest was going around in Ireland, or the Irish, they were saying blue lives matter. And people was like, are y'all pro-cop? No, they were saying Black Lives Matter as well, but because the language is different, it means different things. As you can see here, the Irish language Wikipedia page for Black Lives Matter offers one possible translation for the movement's name: Mór Agan Bathad Doin Gorma. Numerous syntactical differences between Irish and English, notably in this case, the absence of the direct translation for the verb to matter, meaning that the Irish version is a little bit more of a mouthful than the original. Translated literally, it means, we value the lives of black people. Or more literally still, we value the lives of blue people. One language's conceptualization of colors will not necessarily be the same as the next. For example, Irish have no standalone term for pink, as we do in English, and instead characterizes salmon and flamingos as bendger, or white red. Many languages, such as some of those indigenous to Australia, yoke black and blue together, using the same adjective to describe coal as they do the morning sky. So the sky can be black, blue, and the coal can be black, blue, green.
Yeah.
Dove is used as a descriptor. I'm sorry, but this is not the case for Irish, which has perfectly functional word for black, dove. It is used as a descriptor in all the other fixed expressions you might expect: curling dove, black currant, earned dove, black bird, a gullar dove, the black death. It is simply a idiosyncrasy of the Irish language that black people are referred to as Gorm, blue.
I've heard Gorm before.
Yeah.
And hell, you can say the Dublin. There's a place in Ireland called Dublin.
Yeah, Dublin. Yeah, that's Black Land. What it's called.
Land. The block lines.
I'm from the block lines. Matter of fact,
we'll bounce
heads off the ground. If you see here in Ireland, they still have a place, as you can see here, called the Black Lands.
The block lines, man. We're from the block lands.
I was listening to it. I forgot to get the clip. I was listening to, the Brexit thing that was going on over there in the UK. And a guy had came on and was he was on a phone call on a radio show they have over there. And they were talking about Brexit. And they brought up climate change. And this is an Irish dude. He's Caucasian. And they asked him about what he think about climate change. He said, climate change is just weather. I mean, I'm from the land of the black. We keep it real. I was like, what the fuck? Keep in mind, this is me, an American. When he said I'm from the land of the black, we keep it real, I'm thinking, is this a wigger?
Yeah, but no, he really
No, he from literally the black lands.
I'm from the block lines, man. We keep it real.
I was like, what the hell's going on?
Hey, what are niggas known for? Keeping it real.
Which is funny because Irish are known as the niggas. They're known. they call them niggers. Them and the Southern Italians.
Yeah.
Sicilians, I believe it is. I can't remember.
Sicilians, Southern Italy.
They're called niggers. Irish are called the niggas of Europe. Matter of fact, there was if you can go on YouTube, there's families over there that call themselves, they're fighter families. They're not professional boxers. They just a fighter family. They just fight each other.
Yeah.
They're a family of fighters that just fight on the street and record it and put it on YouTube.
Yep.
The McDuffs, McMillans, all those type of names. That's Green, Smith, that's German name, Smith. All these names are synonymous with a certain people, but actually in America, when we see black people with these names, McMillan, McDuffie, Green, what's another one? What's another Irish name? Galloway, McGrady, Tracy McGrady from the NBA.
Douglas is a huge name.
Douglas, which means black, literally means black man. Then you got Murray, Moray.
Yeah.
All those names we're told that you only got those names through slavery. McCrae. Those names did not come through slavery. You already had those names, some of you. But anyway, we'll get to that. Let's go ahead and go back to this.
And that some of the natives of Scotland, as well as of England, were of this race also is evident when one remembers that, according to Skene, the powerful tribe of the Damnonii, which was the chief of the confederacy of the Maiae, or marsh dwellers, who were a part of the Picti or Caledonii, were probably relations of their namesakes of southwestern Britain, which indeed is almost a certainty, if nomenclature goes for anything. Therefore the British Peats resembled the Ugrian Peats and the Tasmanian and other kindred Peats, not...
So he's saying all these people were the same. So he's making sure he point out, one, if this people look like Negroes, and they are the same as these people and these people and these people, then that means all these people were Negroes. Now I'm going to read on further myself. Now, when Claudian wrote, and for a long time after, Marius signified a great deal more than a native of Mauritania, or it may be more correct to say that Mauritania implied as much, though in a different quarter as Scythia did. Any Latin dictionary, any old one at least, so he's saying right there, even in that time that he was in, they were already changing dictionaries, changing the meaning of words, taking out the historical context behind words even then. So he had to go, in his time, 1800, he had to go get old dictionaries even then to get the real meaning of words and the etymology. You see here, it said, at least old ones at least, will tell you that Marius is a Moor, or a blackamoor, or a tawny Moor. And Shakespeare uses the word Moor as a synonym for Negro. Now, we talked about Negro being a synonym for Moor earlier, even though they were trying to say that was North African Berbers and Arabs. Here's another evidence. Not only did the definition itself said that a Moor is a Negro. Now you have him reading older dictionaries. He's saying the same thing. He said, as the last word bears nowadays a somewhat restricted meaning, it may be better to take the old-fashioned blackamoor as the nearest English rendering of Moorish, signifying thereby any black or brown-skinned man. Consequently, the translation of Claudian's line is this: he subdued the nimble blackamoor, not wrongly named the painted people. And the British Picts, like those of other lands, stand out again as dark-skinned men. A complementary witness with Moors is Gorm. We just talked about that. Gorm means, or another word for black or green
or blue.
As you can see here, attached to the names Highland and others, chief and kings, the word is given in the Gaelic dictionaries as signifying blue or whatever shade, also green as grass, and that recalls the fact that the indigenous tribes described by Caesar were styled both virides, green, and curly, blue, from the woad with which they stain their bodies, the color which may come under either of the headings. Accordingly, when one looks again into the Gaelic dictionary, one finds that gorman is woad. Plainly, therefore, a man who is tilted gorm is woad-stained man. Now, although it is Gaelic of Scotland, a Negro is known as Dewan Dove, a black man. He is known of the Gaelic of Ireland as Dewan Gorm, a blue, green, or woad-stained man. And while the Scottish Highlands, the adjective glass is used to signify both swarthy and green, in Wales, it has the meaning of green or blue. And in the latter country, the Gaelic gorm, here spelled guam, is equivalent to brown. What possible explanation for all this apparent confusion of terms can there be, except the patent one that a brown-skinned man and a woad-colored man were one and the same? Marius is a word which suggests a great deal. It has this in common with Ergen word cara or car, previously glanced at, that is not only signifies swarthiness of skin, but it also radically connected to the marsh in Mars, or Cars, as it is called in Scotland. One meaning of Morris in Latin is Paulus, and the word marsh, Morris, Moorish, Mersh, and Saxon and Moor or Mur are all different forms, clearly of original root, whatever that may be. So you can go on and on with this. He went on to compare certain words to what they call the Mongoloids. We're going to get into why he did that soon. Hold Hold on. All right, in this part, he goes on to talk about the different shades of people. It says Mr. Skeen includes the terms ban and fen, white, sar and dove, black, jarg and ruid, red, lieth, gray, glass, green, also gray, gorum, blue, brack or brit, speckled, among the names of the primary colors which enter into the composition both of names, persons, and places. To these may be added dawn, brown, which word is indeed no other than dun, and tawny, and the bid, yellow. Now, of these terms, it has been shown that green and blue, so often interchangeable with black and brown, related to the woad-stained dark-skinned races, brick, translated spotted or speckled, will be glanced at presently. But of the remainder two are the uncertain meaning. These are ruid and bid, usually rendered red and yellow, and usually also held to denote the color of hair. It is obviously absurd to suppose that the distinguishing agnomens, green, blue, and speckled, have to do with the hair. Why then should the other? As a matter of fact, I find that one who knows Gaelic intimately, both as a spoken and a written language, translate ruid as tawny, in at least one instance that is now generally held to signify russet or red-haired, seen without doubt. But when it is used to distinguish the red comb from the black comb, or the red Douglas from the black Douglas, the black in each case having reference to complexion, it seems quite likely that the red branches of those families were ruid or tawny, being by admixture of white blood. Now that's him assuming. Less swarthy than the black kindred, so also with bid, yellow, when one finds that in Gaelic poem of the 11th century, the phrase Mac Dancha Datha Drech Buit is translated son of Duncan of the yellow countenance, and that some king is also styled Mac Dancha Drech Ruid, the son of Duncan of the ruddy countenance. It is evident that a yellow or copper-colored face is intended when, and in that instance, bid and ruid are interchangeable terms for tawny. So, so back then when they called somebody ruid or red, they were calling them what we call today
red bone.
When they called somebody bid or yellow skinned,
or yellow
bone. So even back then they had red bone and yellow bone. And the only people who use those terms, at least up until now, because now you got Arabs and all type of people calling themselves light skinned.
They don't say red bone and yellow.
I'm saying, but they call themselves light skinned. That red bone, yellow bone, light skin, dark skin, that was all really connected to America and their system of race and how that worked. But as you can see here, it even operated all the way back in the Middle Ages, even further than that even. Here's another. Let it once be understood that the Picts of history were blackamoors. The question next arises, could they have been related to the Scandinavians as some aver? Knightley says that the Picts who early seized the Scottish lowlands were akin to the Scandinavians, and Martin, in his description of the western islands of Scotland, says that in general acknowledged that the Picts were originally Germans, in particular from the part of the bordering upon the Baltic Sea. Some think them Pictish, probably because there is one that Abernethy, the ancient seat of that nation, and others call them Danish, because it was the custom of the Danes to give the alarm in time of danger from high places. Another one, the Normans landed in Glamorganshire and spreading themselves over different parts of South Wales, put an end to the predatory incursions of the Danes and other pirates. The Normans in great companies landed in Divert and West Wales and Cardigan and builded castles there, and so began to inhabit the country upon the seashore. Into the protection of the church and town of St. David's probably owned the tranquility which they afterwards enjoyed. Here there is perfect unanimity. The cum nigris gentribus of the annals and the Powell's Black Army are at one. Thus, we have as evidence these terms dove, used for different nouns, nigger and black, all applied in the most neutral and matter-of-fact way to the Danish pirates by men of presumably white race. Can anything be clearer? So he's saying that the white people of this area refer to them as dove or black or niggers. So the people who weren't...
They were calling you niggers then.
So the people who weren't of these people, they refer to them this way. What may be also called genealogical evidence of the existence of black-skinned races existing in Scotland within historic times has already been abducted, and considering the Moors, and it is difficult to decide whether the examples given out to be styled Picts, so-called, or Danes, because both were Picts and contemporaries. And the very district which still bears the name of the ancient Moray man was also the very district in which the Danes lingered longest, for which reason it had become the hunting ground of the fair-skinned victors, descendants of Freshire and Fleming, Broward the Fleming, and others of kindred race. Therefore, when a black man is discovered on a family tree of 1,000 years ago, he may be either a Dane or a Pict. Of those, however, who are better known by the former name, there may be specified as ancestor of the McLeods of McLeod, the family being held to the descendant at the date of Martin visit the Western Islands, and in the words, from Leod, son of the Black Prince of Man, which island was from a long time under the rule of the Danes. The father of the Leod was, in all probability, Olaf Dane, Olaf Swarty, or Olaf the Swarthy. Now here he went on to talk about the names of certain lands. When you got places like the Black Sea and the Black Lands, he talked about why they were named that way. It has been remarked, incidentally, by an American writer that Indian Creek is a sort of John Smith in the nomenclature of Western streams. And this, of course, is a result of the fact that for many years after the frontier district have been settled, though not thickly, by white pioneers, scattered bands of the native tribes have lingered on in a harmless gypsy fashion beside their old riverside camp. And thus, the name of the Indian Creek has been the most natural name that could be given to those streams beside which they live. There is no word better entitled to be called the John Smith of this nomenclature of British localities than the word black. Undoubtedly, there are cases where this adjective has been applied because it denotes some apparent and striking feature in the landscape, as for example in the case of the gloomy black country, or where some craggy peak asserts itself distinctly as a black rock. But in most instances, no such explanation is satisfactory. And it is apparent that the real origin of the name dates from the days when certain portions of Scotland were distinctly recognized as black divisions, for the simple reason that they were peopled by black races, over whom, in the latter half of the 10th century, were ruled Kenneth MacMalcolm, known for his contemporaries as the Black. So they're saying the reason why they would name some places black in the title is the same reason why in America they would name certain places Indian, because the people living near that area were Indian. So you had the Indian River, the Indian Mountain, or whatever. That means Indians were near there. That's the same reason why they would name something in another part, particularly in the United Kingdom, Black River, Black Mountain, Black Hill, because there were black people that lived in that area. Here's another. It has been seen that the topography of our country and many other word witnesses in our speech all testify to the presence of a black race not yet blended with the white, and other evidences of history, of legend, and of custom have been abducted, but of the traditional memory of the blackamoor still visibly impressed upon the minds of our peasantry, very little has been said. The Black Moro, who from his forest then ravaged the neighboring country, and the Black Knight of Lancashire, who held the people in vassalage and used them with great severity, were two distinct specimens, but they can be matched with many others. So he's saying that they had a Black Knight, I guess you would call it not a myth. They had a story of a Black Knight back then that was passed down through time. So that Black Knight is not necessarily some fictional character. It probably was based off of this person here. The popular tales of the West Highlands are full of dark-skinned people whose deeds are often recited by people half unconscious of the fact that they, too, are anything but white. In the tale of the Shifty Lad, there is a dove of Inchiqueline, who, and perhaps identical with the black robber of the Barra fisherman story. Two tawny women figure in the tale of the soldier and the widow's son is variously described as a slender dark lad, a black lad, and a black rough-skinned lad, while in the soldier's son encounters a black fisherman who lives in the island cave. The Song of the Yellow mentions the three sons of the dusky black king.
The black king.
Yeah, Dusty Black King.
No, the black king.
All right.
They put black in everything. Jesus.
They made sure you knew who they were. And also introduced to Sar Dove, Dusky Black, Prince of Lamhan, and the Grukach, who figures in the lay of the great fools of the brown complexion. The king, who is the predominant figure in the story of Canal Goldben, is a slender black man in one version, and in another, lean-boned, savage, and swarthy. The black warrior Mardove, that is Black Moor, Moro, Moray, and Moor, has already been spoken of.
So, this reminds me of I'm black, y'all. I'm black, y'all. And I'm bliggity black, y'all.
They made sure in their names.
They left a trail of their history that who they were.
Which tells you how hard they had to work to hide this. You gotta give them credit. They destroyed, you know how many thousands of statues they destroyed, and there's still thousands of statues there?
Like, when you say pick, it reminds me of Piccolo in Dragon Ball Z.
And what was he?
He was green.
A green man. He was a picked. Matter of fact, when you look up a picked, you can just go on Google right now and type in what a picked look like, a northern picked, and you'll see a picture. Hold on. Type in British Picts, and this is what it will show. They try to say that the reason why they had woad stained skin is because they were painting their skin blue, or it was tattoos. Which I'm sure they did have tattoos back then, but their skin wasn't actually blue. They were black people.
Of different shades of brown.
Of different shades of brown. They would call blue and green. Matter of fact,
what color are the avatars?
Yeah, you remember that movie Avatar? What color was those people?
Blue.
They were blue, which means they were black. Like in the movie, in that movie Avatar, when dude first got his mind put into the avatar, what did he do? He went outside and immediately ran. And what were they doing outside when he walked outside? They were playing basketball. In the movie Avatar, why were they playing? This will happen when he first get the ability to run inside of this avatar body. He walked outside the door, and immediately these other people whose brains were in avatar bodies, they were playing basketball.
Same thing in the movie Get Out.
What did he do?
When the grandfather went into the
black dude, the track star,
the track star, he immediately, that's why we like, when we said, well, why this nigga just running all the time? Well, it's not him.
Exactly.
It's the grandfather who is inside his body testing out his legs.
But it goes back to the whole idea of people pushing this idea that black people have the perfect physique.
Long legs are better than having a long torso. It's a proven fact that it's even viewed as more attractive having longer legs than having a long torso.
Yeah, they call it, black people are seen as having a better physique, but they're seen as having a slower brain. They're not as intelligent.
That's a lie.
They say if we can take the white brain and put it in the black body, we'll have the perfect person. Which goes into this whole idea that black people have this very sick relationship with white people. The ones, at least some black people, where they want to be loved by these people. They want these people's acceptance.
Or create interracial kids.
I'm talking about socially. They want to be around these people on the other hand, but they want to be separated from them as well at the same time. And it's on both sides. It creates this dynamic where it's just so toxic. It's like you
well, that's why when you reference black, you automatically think white.
That's how they
I
go.
even did it. I was like, we were doing a video and I was like, yeah, he said such and such, but he didn't mention white people. I was like, damn, even I.
That's how they do.
It's like,
because black is the opposite of white. Light is the opposite of dark. That's how they do it.
We can even reference Incredible Hulk. He starts off as this normal man,
white guy,
but when he gets super angry,
he turns his Hulk,
green,
the savage,
and
he's dumber.
He's dumber, but he's stronger.
He's physically better,
but he's dumber.
Mentally weaker. Ain't that something? He turns into the green man or the black man, and he gets dumber but stronger, faster. He jumps higher,
but he's dumb as a damn rock.
He's just angry, just brute. Here's another part here. It says, but the traces of our black ancestry are visibly existent in 100 surnames. Some of those denote complexion, others do so, but indirectly. The first class include a great many. There are the clans. Listen to this right here. There are the clans Rory and Dougal, spelled Dubgal, or black strangers in their own genealogy. There are all the varieties of dove, black, such as Duff, Doe, McDuff, and others. There are the Dons, Cars. What's that guy name? It's a guy named Carr. Marcus Carr, the Pan-Africanist. I can't remember his first name right now for some reason. You have Carr and Jargs with other equivalent Duns, Browns, Grays, and Blacks. All these are color names showing a black or tawny ancestor. So also is the name Doveglass or Douglas, literally black swarthy or black. And that of Murray, you got Jamal Murray, Keith Murray, is it be Douglas?
It would be Douglas.
And Murray.
Galloway.
Yeah.
Calloway.
No, Morrissey. Morris. Yeah. Morris, that's it. Like, what's his name? The actor? Morris Chestnut, even though it's his first name, funny enough. His first name is Morris. Who is kindred from the Moor, and these only were the original names, did not signify the Moria, whether in Latin or Gaelic. Such are the kind of names that indirectly point to a descent of the Moors. Of those do not indirectly, nothing need to be said here. But in saying this, it is not meant that such names nowadays necessarily indicate that the bearers of them had one or more Pictish ancestors. But it is well known that the surnames of the feudal superior were given in the cases to his vassals. Listen to this. Though wholly unconnected by blood, consequently, many of the unwilling followers of the black oppressor might transmit to their descendants a surname that denoted a complexion vastly different from their own. Nor is it to be supposed either that a real descendant of a black or a Macduff must of necessity be found in the ranks of the dark whites. For a patronymic indicates nothing more than the descent of a certain individual, one ancestor out of myriads. They say that in the southern states a man is counted as nigger if he have ever so slight an infusion of Negro blood in his veins. Nothing but the most paltry prejudice could so define him. When a man is 9/10 white or 9/10 black, he is white or black before anything else. But if the Negro ancestors of such a 9/10 white man have lived amidst a white population whose ideas with regard to nomenclature were as primitive as those of our ancestors 1,000 years ago, his offspring would have eventually been known by some such name as black or Negro, used as a surname. Precisely the same thing has actually happened here. We know as a historical fact that a nigger, Veldove, has lived and reigned over certain black divisions of our island, and probably over white divisions also, and that a race known as the sons of the black succeeded him in history. But just as our hypothetical Octoroon family on the other side of the Atlantic might ever be continued to intermarry only with the white kindred, so might our British Octoroons have done likewise. Look at this. Dundee Doth. I guess that's how you would say that. New phrase for a person of color added to Irish lexicon. Term updated by Forrest Na Galauge after previous referred to blue people and devil.
Damn. They black and they the devil.
Well, devil could be that title probably came after the the group people, the black people there began to lose certain power. They probably started referring to them as devil because they were, well, hell, during that time of reign, they probably referred to them as devil because they were, destroying them. They were killing them.
Black devil.
Which basically in their language, black devil will be black as well, right?
Everything is black.
The Irish language has long wrestled with the description of people who are not white, and fear dove could refer to a man of any color with black hair or black skin. When capitalized, fear dove has also referred to the devil. Now hold on. In America, when you say African American and you're talking about a black American, you have to capitalize the A in African American. Same thing when you type the word black. You have to capitalize the word black to mean the Pacific people. But over there, the word is dove, that means black. If you capitalize the D, it means devil. For generations, Irish speakers used odd alternative Dun Gorm, blue person, to indicate people who were not white. Others used Dun Doth, colored person. One version evoked creatures from a film Avatar. The other echoed language associated with apartheid South Africa.
Colored.
Coloreds.
Well, even in America, we would call
we would
coloreds.
call colored.
Okay, colored.
They would call coloreds. Now, the Guardian of Iris have entered a new term in the National Terminology Database. We are happy to use it in the case of concept emerging and change it. They had to create a new way to say it to not be what they deem it offensive. The same reason why you got these so-called activist groups throughout Europe trying to take down these statues of black people, saying that it was mocking them. No, that statue is not mocking them. That statue is showing history.
Yeah.
You have a statue of a person who looks like a knight. What's this? The one they say, Saint Maurice. They keep saying all these statues are just statues of a one person, Saint Maurice. No, these are different people. Y'all trying to help them take down these statues to hide real history. You think you slick? I got your nickel change. The adoption reflects the evolution of concepts as well as Ireland's transition from mono-ethnic society to one with growing African, Asian, and Latino communities.
You can call a Hispanic person a black person?
The concept has much wider range of application. You can't call a Hispanic person a black person.
Oh, you can't? Okay.
Yeah. For a person of color, you're talking about any shade of skin that isn't white. So you still would call black people black, right? You still would call them dove. But you would call other people the name for people of color. Ola, I can't say that last name, a broadcaster and board member suggested a new term, the daughter of Nigerian immigrants. She was educated in Irish and felt the term Don Doth and Don Gorm were outdated. Gorm is now outright offensive or a racial slur, but it doesn't refer to someone like myself. I remember when I was in school wondering who are these people. I'm not blue. If only you knew. If only you knew, you are the blue people.
The Nigerian immigrant?
Yeah, she said she's not blue. But I guess you said as a kid, you probably will be like, I'm not blue. But here's another. Why were black people referred to as Duan and Gorm, blue people, in Irish Gaelic, and where did it originate? Now, this person went on a long example of why this happened. And what they said was they try to compare it to what we consider, you call these grapes right here would be considered white grapes, but they're green. She's saying that's the same thing that's happening in their language. You refer to a black person as blue or green, doesn't mean they're actually green.
And red grapes actually look purple.
Yeah.
Or they'll call a red onion. A red onion looks purple as well, but they say it's a red onion.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
You'll have black people say, hand me that purple onion.
You see here? She said, first of all, I should mention the word gorm, which most commonly translated into English as blue, covers a different range of spectrum than what English speakers would commonly understand by the word blue. This is something that can be really difficult to explain well, particularly to anyone who speaks only one language. In a nutshell, different languages divide up the spectrum of colors differently. In this regard, Gaelic is no exception, and indeed, it divides up the spectrum quite differently from English. Indeed, there isn't any uniformity in the division of the spectrum between the Gaelic and the Ireland and the Gaelic of Scotland, both which have a word gorm in the vocabulary, but use it slightly different to describe a slightly different range of spectrum of colors. In Scotland, for example, the word gorm is described the lush green color of mature grass and foliage, where I think the Irish Gaelic prefers to use the word glass here, which refers, however, to a shade of greenish gray in Scotland. In the Gaelic of Scotland, however, gorm starts at a point in the spectrum that English speakers might call mid-green before progressing through the range of the mid to dark blue shades, as far as the English speakers might call midnight blue. Now, I'm going to give an example of a person in history who was used by the word ruddy or ruid. They were called ruddy. The person who was the king during the time of the American Revolution, King George III. But a description was given of King George, like many other people during a lot of these kings and stuff have descriptions. But if you see here, King George's description is a tall, well-built man in later life, inclining to stoutness with a good leg. The most prominent features on his face were a high forehead, protruding eyes, a large nose, thick lips, and a dimpled chin. His complexion was ruddy. So you ask the question, what is ruddy? I'm going to show this. Ruddy, Middle English, Rudy. There's a lot of people that call themselves Rudy too. From late Old English, rudig, reddish of red color of the complexion, rosy, healthy red, probably from rudu, redness, which is related to red, and you go down as a British slang euphemism for bloody. It's recorded in 1914. Ruddiness. The word red, of a bright, warm color resembling that of blood or a highest part of the primary rainbow. Middle English, red, read, from Old English red, used as various shades of purple, crimson, scarlet, pink, etc. Also red clothes, dye, ink, wine, or paint. Also having a ruddy or reddish complexion. Red-haired, red beard, from Proto-Germanic Rothin. The Danish rod, Old Saxon rod, Old Fashioned rad, Middle Dutch root, Dutch road, German rot, Gothic rops. Look at this. This is reconstructed to be from a Pi root rud, ruddy, red, the only color of which a definite common Pi root word has been found. It also is a root of native ruddy, rust, and via Latin ruby, rubric, or rustic. We saw that word rustic earlier. Let's see what rustic is. Rustic, coarse, woolen cloth, usually of subdued reddish brown color. So red is russet. Russet is a reddish brown color,
like russet potatoes.
Exactly. Also, the color from Old French rosette, from rosette, reddish, diminutive of rouge, rose, red from Latin russus, which is related to ruber, red. An adjective, reddish, from late 14th century. The name continued even when the cloth color was brown or gray. So you can call something reddish or russet when it's brown. The coarse, homespun cloth, also indicative of rustic, homely. Rustic, that's considered something, what do you call it? Rusty. Now you get like a blade or something metal and they get rusty.
Mm-hmm.
It's brown. A simple person of qualities by 1580s, whatever. Now I'm going to show ideas of this, how this looks. Look at this. This is the color of rust. This is the color they show you when you say rust. And then you see this. This is russet. And you talked about this russet potatoes. It's brown.
Yep.
So when someone is ruddy, they're brown. Now, when I looked I went on Google and I just typed in the word ruddy person into the search bar. When I first searched this, it was literally nothing but what you consider black people. I refreshed it the next day because I wanted to keep it up there. I refreshed it by accident, and next thing you know, a whole bunch more white people started getting plucked into it. But when you look at that right here, you see a ruddy person. It shows what do you call it? Red fox. They show pictures of these people that have a reddish brown skin tone. They show the full sprinkle of white people, but we know they're doing that for the rosy red cheeks part.
Or the red hair.
Exactly. You see this picture here? She's considered ruddy. These are considered ruddy people, especially these two kids here. They would be considered really ruddy. They look red almost, more than even brown. That would be considered a ruddy person. So when they say that King George III was ruddy, they're saying he looks something like that. Now I'm also going to show King George's wife, who the media had pretty much came out and said that the first quote unquote black queen was King George's wife, which is Queen Charlotte. Now we all know the agenda why they're pushing this idea that Queen Charlotte was black, because they, trying to convince black women that, your only way to prominence and to be a real queen is to be with a Caucasian man. Because they push the idea that King George is white, but Queen Elizabeth, she might be the first black queen. As you can see here, was Britain's first black queen. Queen Charlotte was the wife of King George III, and like him, of German descent. But did she also have African ancestry by stuff? Maybe that quote unquote African ancestry came from her German ancestry. Oh, it's all right there. So don't even lie about this one. As you can see, more than likely she probably was a mulatto.
Neck is a little thick.
Talk about the woman neck. But yeah, by the way, being from North Carolina, I know that the capital is Raleigh.
Yep.
But the biggest city is Charlotte.
That's your banking No, that's the bank.
Everything is there.
North Carolina got furniture capital,
Banking capital at this point. All the
yam capital.
Yeah. But the Charlotte, the nickname for Charlotte is Queen City.
And they acknowledge who they talking about.
Yeah, because of Queen Charlotte. Now they have a statue of her, a statue of her falling back, holding her crown. According to them, it was voted the ugliest statue in the world. The ugly statue of her, at least. But they have another statue of her standing outside of a building, Queen Charlotte. Everything in the quote unquote new world came from the old world. The names of the damn street, like when you look over there in the UK and Germany and stuff, and you see these places' names, and then you come to America and the same name is there, like a street in California called Florence and Normandy. That's after two countries over there in Europe. They just rehash everything. So when you look at this movie and the history of black people in Europe, and I'm just gonna have stuff coming across the screen now. They hide a lot of stuff, and they use these movies sometimes to mock black people. But when you see them say the words dove, black, green, blue man, and all those other words, they're talking about black people. They just have spent so much time, money, and energy hiding this stuff.
Or they're slowly releasing information because this is the age of information. So it's also being put out there for, I think, you to go and look up research.
Well, if you go look it up, you'll find it.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, they get put in front of their face and they just take it for what it is.
They go, maybe some other time. Read, nigga, read.
Oh man, it's gonna be a lot of editing with this. Good Lord. But anyway, man, hopefully you enjoyed the little breakdown here. You got anything else you want to say?
No, I do understand why. You subscribe to people who put out great content on history, and you were like, when you gonna release another video? They say, I'm gonna get it out. We understand why you can't get it out. Duke did a lot of research, and it takes a while to get stuff out because you have to gotta read, you gotta get references. It takes a while to get the stuff out. So hope you enjoy this.
Yeah. Please leave a like, subscribe, and share because this one was draining. But I enjoyed it anyway, man. I learned something too. But anyway, man, y'all be safe. All praise to the Most High. And peace, man.